In this video, we're going to review the levels of organization and how these levels relate to each other and to the whole system. Before we begin, I would like you to make one correction. There are two columns titled the same, animal example. Please change one of them to a plant example. We're going to start with the simplest level, which is an atom. Everything is made up of atoms. An atom is the smallest unit of an element. An example of an atom is carbon. Here's the chemical symbol for carbon. Carbon is the most important element to life because life is carbon-based. And without this element, life would not exist. When atoms combine, they form a more complex level, which is a molecule. An example of a molecule would be water molecule, H2O, with 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Both plants and animals have water in their system. The next level is an organelle. Organelles are made up of molecules that work together. Organelles are also called small organs. An example of an organelle would be a mitochondrion. Both plants and animals have mitochondria in their cells. Mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell. It stores energy in the form of ATP. ATP is a cellular energy, which means cells use this energy for cellular activities. The next level, which is more complex than an organelle, is called a cell. All living things are made up of cells. Cell is a smallest unit of life. An example of an animal cell is a muscle cell. Muscle cell has an ability to contract that makes cells shorter, which causes the muscle move. An example of a plant cell is a parenchyma cell, which is basically a typical plant cell because it has a large vacuole and it has lots of green organelles that are called chloroplasts. And that's where the sugars are made during photosynthesis. The next level is tissue, and tissue is a group of cells with similar function. For example, muscle tissue in animals. So lots of muscle cells grouped together, they all perform the same function and they make up tissue. In plants, parenchyma cells group together to form a ground tissue. So as you see, plants also have tissues, not only animals. The next more complex level is an organ. Organ is made up of 2 or more types of tissues that work together to complete a specific task. For example, organ has a specific task of digestion. Plants also have organs such as stems and leaves and roots and flowers. In our example of an organ is a leaf, and leaf is a photosynthetic organ, which means it can perform the process of photosynthesis and make sugars. This concludes the first part of the video, so go ahead and go to the second part. Just click on the second slide to finish watching the second part of the video. Thank you. The next level that is more complex than an organ is an organ system, which is a group of organs that work together to perform a major task. An example of an animal system is a digestive system that includes the following organs: stomach, esophagus, large and small intestine. All of those organs work together to perform a major task of digestion. An example of a plant system is a reproductive system, and reproduction takes place in a flower. The next level is an organism, which means an entire living thing that includes all of those organ systems that work together. Rabbit will be an example of an organism, or you. Rabbit and you are multicellular, and an example of a unicellular organism would be bacteria or a protist. Sunflower is a plant example. And when these organisms of the same species of one type live together in the same area, they form a population. So here's a population of rabbits or a population of sunflowers. And when all the animals and plants and populations of trees and populations of certain kinds of birds and population of certain kinds of bacteria and mushrooms and protists live together in a defined area, they live together as a community. So community includes all of the living things. And another word, a term for living things is biotic factor. Bio means living. And living things are normally surrounded by non-living things. And we call non-living things abiotic factors. A means non-living, or abio means non-living, such as mountains and water and sun. And living things and non-living things together form the next level, which is called ecosystem. And when all those living things that are surrounded by abiotic factors, and when they live in a specific climate, they form the next level, which is called a biome. And for example, a desert. In the desert, you can find only specific organisms that can actually survive there because the climate is arid, is very dry. Only certain organisms, animals and plants and bacteria can survive there. And the next level, which is the most complex one, is called biosphere, that includes all of the biomes. So now let's review all the levels, starting with the most or the least complex, which is an atom. So an example of an atom will be, let's say, hydrogen. Hydrogen and oxygen combine together to form a molecule, H2O, which is water. Then different molecules combine together to form an organelle, for example, a nucleus. The next level is a cell, and cell includes different organelles that are suspended in a gel-like structure called a cytoplasm. A group of cells that have the same function form tissue. Different tissues make up an organ. Different organs that perform a major task form an organ system. Many organ systems form an organism. Organisms of the same species that live in the same area form a population. For example, population of oaks or oak trees. Different populations of plants and animals and bacteria and mushrooms and protists, they live together in a defined area as a community. And the community is surrounded by abiotic factors such as mountains and sun and water, and they form ecosystem. So ecosystem includes living and non-living things. Next, Different ecosystems make up a biome, and biome is characterized by a specific climate, for example, tundra or a tropical forest. And many biomes form a biosphere. So biosphere is the most complex level of organization. And this concludes our video. Thank you.